Now at 5, tornado cleanup begins.
We have a look at the damage left behind in some central Indiana communities after last night's storms.
And behind that line of storms, a chilly change. I'll cover that and look ahead to the weekend in your forecast.
Plus, state lawmakers taking on the budget.
How different organizations are fighting for their portion of the funding. And Purdue advances after a pretty close first-round face-off today.
Dominic Miranda has highlights and what's ahead for the Boilermakers. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News.
It's 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. And we begin 13 News at 5 with some breaking news that we've been monitoring that's developing on the west side of Indianapolis at this hour.
Metro Police are investigating a deadly shooting. So we have a live picture. This is a live look near the scene at Raceway and Rockville Roads.
IMPD now telling 13 News that a man was shot here. We're told they believe that incident happened just after 3 o'clock, and that man later died here at this scene. We're working to learn more about what led up to this shooting.
When we have more info, we will update you here on air as well as our mobile app.
The storms that came through last night were severe, and they caused damage across many central Indiana communities, including south of here in Bartholomew County.
So the video you're seeing here is just southeast of Columbus. The National Weather Service confirms an EF2 tornado tore through town. You can see huge metal utility poles mangled and knocked over.
A lot of work to clean up, and Samantha Johnson traveled there today and spent the day where the work is now underway.
Wednesday night's storm ripped through trees, toppled barns, and damaged homes in Bartholomew County.
As you can tell, this garage or barn looked like it pretty much picked that up and slammed it upside down.
Sheriff Chris Lane tells me structural damage and power outages are now the top concern.
We started out last night with, when the storm hit, 3,000 power outages due to the storm that blew through.
One family has owned this property since the 1950s. They were minutes from home when the storm hit Wednesday night. The property owner tells me this used to be a barn housing his plane. He runs it on a grass strip here on the property. He said he's never had any issues with this barn until Wednesday night. Thankfully, the sheriff tells us no one was hurt.
That's the best outcome, obviously. Like I said, structures, houses, and stuff like that, yeah, that's bad. But, you know, the most important thing is nobody got hurt.
Just down the road, major damage at a family farm with a debris field as far as the eye can see.
Obviously, we're blessed that, you know, we've got some structural damage, that those things can all be fixed, right? But we don't have any, you know, like I said, at this point in time, we don't have any injuries or, you know, thank God for that.
On Wednesday, the county shut down a handful of roads. There were at least 2 rear-end crashes in the area, drivers distracted by the cleanup.
That's a good indicator. That's probably somebody looking around and then they hit the car in front of them.
Sheriff Lane now asking anyone who doesn't need to be here to stay away.
You know, these guys are trying to do their job and they need some space.
Space to clean up and get back to normal.
That way everybody can get their power back, and I'm sure that would make a lot of people happy.
In Bartholomew County, Samantha Johnson, 13 News.
And for now, that's the only confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service, but we may see that number climb. This is how busy it was with severe weather. These are all the warnings issued. And even if your area doesn't get report from the National Weather Service of confirmed tornado damage, look at all of these wind damage reports all across central Indiana. So tornado or not, it was a busy night with severe storms with lots of wind damage across central Indiana. Behind it, the chilly change. We're down 23 degrees in Indianapolis. That puts temperatures right now in the 30s and 40s. It's going to be a chilly night. Clearing skies, lows tonight in the 20s.
Thank you, Miss Angela. Well, tonight, one man is dead after a house fire in Anderson.
A woman who was inside did make a daring escape to safety. And as Karen Campbell reports from the scene, this is not the first fire that neighbors say they've seen.
Anderson Fire and police have returned to the scene here at West 3rd and Sycamore to continue their investigation into a deadly fire that ripped through this home behind me, killing one man and forcing a woman to jump from a window to safety. Now, sadly, we have learned that 41-year-old Taiwan Miller died in this fire 8 days before his birthday. Right now, fire investigators are working to determine what caused the fire, but as you can see, the damage is extensive. Crews got to the scene after 10 this morning to find it fully engulfed in flames. Neighbors say this isn't the first fire in their neighborhood. They claim there have been several in recent months and are concerned about what's going on in their community.
This is not the first fire we had at all. No, this is probably the fourth or fifth fire we've had in the last year to 2 years right here on this block.
Right now, there is no word on what may have sparked the fire. The cause remains under investigation. So, of course, we will stay on top of this developing story and bring you the very latest once we get more information. In Anderson, Karen Campbell, 13 News.
And we have an update to a breaking news story that we first brought you on 13 News at 5.
An inmate who escaped from work detail in Jackson County is now at this hour back in police custody. Michael Anderson walked away from correctional work yesterday. Police in Salem tell us he ran from police today during a traffic stop, but then he was quickly captured.
Anderson was found around 2 p.m. today.
At the State House, lawmakers continue to work on how much Indiana plans to spend over the next 2 years. Today, people who run the other state programs and not-for-profits made their case. They are asking for funding.
13 News State House our State House reporter Emily Longnecker is here to talk about what they'd like the state to spend money on over the next 2 years. Emily?
Republican lawmakers have repeatedly said this is going to be a lean budget year because there is less money coming into the state. Now, today, the chairman of the Senate Appropriations, State Republican Senator Ryan Mishler, said if an agency wasn't in the budget at this point, it's unlikely that they would be added, because if they were added, then somebody would have to come out. That didn't stop organizations from coming with their requests on everything from investing in the state's military bases to growing Indiana's MedWorks program for Hoosiers with disabilities. Members of Indiana's Defense Task Force, created by lawmakers in 2019 to identify ways to expand military bases in Indiana, asked for $50 million to fund a military base infrastructure grant program, an appropriation that's not already in this budget proposal.
But the problem is we have no funding. The legislation was passed, but there was no funding set aside for the program.
Republican Senate President Pro Tem Roderick Bray said he couldn't say if funding could be added later for the program or others not already in the budget.
You got to make tough decisions when you're crafting a budget and trying to make sure that you're spending within your means, which of course is our first job.
Another request above what's already in this year's budget proposal: more money to grow Indiana's family medicine residency program. According to testimony, by 2030, Indiana will need 800 more primary care physicians. The current budget proposal has $7 million a year allocated to help the state's residency program. The ask today was for close to $14 million.
We've made such good progress in adding physicians for this state. And I'm sure you understand that if you graduate a residency in Indiana, more likely you're going to stay in Indiana.
Again, when asked about more funding for programs already in the budget, Senator Bray saying it will be hard to find that extra money.
If you're somebody who is in the budget now, staying flat is probably a win for you.
And there was a lot more testimony from many other groups and many programs and organizations, some who work with crime victims, others who work with the state's youth. There were also calls from some who testified calling for increases in the state's cigarette tax. Both Republican State Senator Ryan Mishler and Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray saying the Republican caucus is in ongoing discussions about that. They're open to that, but they can't say for sure if that will happen. At the Indiana State House, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
Still ahead tonight, growing concerns over data centers.
With plans in place for 2 here in central Indiana, we're looking at how these sites could potentially impact communities. But first, in Washington, the president takes his first step towards formally dismantling the Department of Ed.
What it means for students with special needs and for financial aid.
Friday forecast, you'll need the heavy coat and the sunglasses. This weekend, perhaps the umbrella. I'll have a look ahead.